Hi, my name is Christopher Pavlovich. This is a demo of marketing-focused web applications. Here's a brief overview of the agenda. I'm going to get right into it here with goals and follow-ups. On the right, you can see my Google Cloud Webpage login for my CS406 project. That's what we'll be covering today, so I'll kind of follow along and show you how it all works. So week 1 and 2 is marketing material from Google and Apple because they seem to be the cornerstones of most, software today. We're going to show you how we developed a homepage using concepts from week 1 and 2. We're going to add a feature to schedule appointments. This is deployed with Google Cloud Suite using Docker. And then I'll focus in on the details of how to improve the customer experience moving forward. And that's an extension of the project that has not been completed yet. Those are more the stretch goals that I would like to implement following this demonstration. So for the follow-ups, first off, I would like to implement a cart feature to track which items are clicked. So if you want to add multiple massage options, this is a massage website that we're working with for a small massage business. Add a billing feature so customers can check out directly on the website and process payments before going to their appointments, so they don't have to bring the cards or cash or anything like that. Allow for simultaneous appointments. This is, if a group of people want to go for a group, massage session, a spa day, or couples massages, anything like that, so they can book at the same time. Currently, you're only able to book one at a time. So let's get into some of the marketing research here. From Google, I noticed they have a lot of community outreach. They have very awesome user-specific customization. So based on your login, they'll show you certain pages. They'll show you certain backgrounds that relate to you, things that draw you back in and make it feel more familiar. That's why Google.com is the #1 homepage for most users. Their content is all centered, easy to look at. And then Power Words is another big one. If you look at Google marketing material, it's like succeed with Google Cloud, or essential applications for your product workflow. These are the kinds of keywords that kind of draw users in that I'd like to implement in my projects moving forward. A lot of Apple's marketing research is more aesthetic and focused on not offending users, so avoiding certain things. I'll let you pause and read through this here just to keep the demonstration flowing. So now let's get into some of the tools that were used for this project. Bootstrap was the cornerstone of my styling. They have a massive CSS library full of buttons, modals, containers, navbars. I used all of these features in this application. Calendly was my scheduling platform. It allows you to take a user's phone number or email address and send them reminder emails or follow-up confirmations or an invoice at the end. You can even set it up to screen users with PayPal so they have to pay up front. Unfortunately, it limits you to PayPal and Stripe, so you kind of have to have an account with one of those services to use the payment feature, so it's not the most ideal for that. Docker is used for containerization, and then it's also used in the deployment of Google's Cloud Run feature, which actually, it's very cool. You can integrate to GitHub and have it auto-deploy updates, so every time you push to your repository or merge a branch into main, it'll trigger a update to the container, so Google Cloud will then redeploy the container and then launch it to the URL. So now let's talk a little bit about the template. And let's just show you a little bit of this. Let's pause here for a moment and go to Cloud Run. So this is how you get there on Google Cloud Services. I'll skip straight to the finished version here. If you look at revisions, you can see this is the one that's actually auto-deploying. It shows you logs for the build process every time it auto deploys, so you can check for errors. And it shows you the GitHub repository that is my source code. Boom. And here's the actual source code on GitHub. And then it gives you a live URL to the website. So you can set up redirects to this through your domain service provider. Here's the product. You've got scheduling up top if you want a quick way to get to it. An about page that we'll get into later. Product details for each option. And then scheduling. This is the Calendly service I was talking about. It's very nice. You click on the day you want, gives you all your time options. These are all customizable. From the admin side, you put in your information, schedule event. It'll send you text message reminders. It asks for some initial information to make it easier for the masseuse. And then reminder emails and a follow-up / invoice through the email. And that's actually, you can add guests, but in this case that's not the most helpful feature. These two items in the top right, these are more my stretch goals. These are things I would like to implement, but will require a little more time than this project allowed for. So this would be more like a subscription, a monthly or even weekly email with security tips to help you stay ahead of hacks and prevent from getting your passwords leaked or anything cracked in terms of social media or bank accounts, and the cart feature that we discussed. And a brief banner at the bottom. It's nice and clean. The focus of this is, an appealing web page, not so much heavy functionality, but very clean and easy to look at, very user friendly, very simple to navigate. So now let's get into the template. This is all Bootstrap based. I pulled the template offline. Let me pull over. I have some examples here. So on Bootstrap, there are many different examples that you can blend, merge, do whatever you'd like with. So this is where I took a lot of my source code in terms of HTML and CSS, icons, an example form. This is something for my cart feature. This is probably what I would end up using to actually implement billing, and then connect that to an actual billing platform. So worth noting is that I chose to use express handlebars for this. So let me pull up the source code and show you what that looks like. So you have our home page is only 32 lines. In that you have a handlebar for our header and each detailed option. So going back to the web page, these are the detailed options here. It contains this box along with the modal containing content for that option. And so that rather than have all of this be in one large HTML file that's pretty difficult for someone who hasn't seen it before to navigate, simplifying it into something like this allows you to see, well, I want to just navigate to the regular massage options. So then you click on that file. This is everything required for that small box on the page and the detailed information. This is the modal. A more subtle feature that I really liked was in the header. I created a custom class and implemented it into the Bootstrap CSS so that it wasn't competing for priority. And that's right down here in the header. We have upper banner. So that was a pretty simple property at the end of the day that allowed this top navigation pane to float along the page. It's a simple feature, but it makes all the difference when you get into longer websites. And I realize right now this is a bit simple, but as this grows, or if this is a live customer and they're adding features, adding options, and it became a long navigational page, that allows them to navigate anywhere they want at any time without having to scroll all the way to the top. So now let's get into the AI description generation. For each of these view detail options, I have these pretty well written text generations, and that's not complimenting myself. These are AI generated because this project isn't about massages. It's not about telling you what a massage is like. I think we're all pretty familiar with the idea. But ChatGPT was able to, let me get into the slide here so you can follow along. ChatGPT was able to generate these in pretty good detail, and it follows the guidelines that were researched in my marketing research from Apple and Google. And if you remember, Apple was the one that was heavily focused on inclusive language, nothing offensive, and after thoroughly going through these, some minor edits, and very minor at that, it's very well written. So I found that pretty impressive. And we also have an about page that it broke down into sections, documenting like what a massage company would be focused on. And this is something in most cases that would be provided by the business, which is why we went with the generated versions. So now let's get into the cloud auto deployments. So back over here in our Google Cloud platform, you see we have this edit continuous deployment option. Let's click on that, show you what it's all about. This is all generated automatically, the name's generated automatically based on my repository and some inputs I put in when creating this auto deployment feature. You can upgrade a few of these, but the big thing is to have the trigger be on the push to a branch. So this is pretty safe if you follow proper programming practices so that you only push to main when it's a final ready to release feature. And especially when working with multiple individuals on a team, like that's pretty important. So if you're pushing to a branch you're working on for an issue that needs to be fixed, it won't go directly to main. It goes to your branch, and then you merge it into main when it's finished. So when it's finished, in this case, it automatically will go live. So let's do a brief sample. These are stretch goals, right? So those aren't functional features yet. So let's remove them real quick, and I'll show you how this automatically deploys. So these two buttons exist right here as forms in our header file. This is a partial that's, if you remember, tied in here in our home handlebar file. Okay? So we add this to our GitHub repository. Simple comment and push. And then over here in our demo, we go back to Cloud Run, get out of our trigger there that we were editing, and it should already be revising itself. So you can see this loading bar, it's already noticed that there's been a push, it's already triggered the event, and it is now loading. So I'll pause the recording until this is done. It only takes about a minute, and I'll show you the result. So this appears to have finished up. I don't see any issues with the deployment, and there's some wonderful logs here we can look at if you want to see any further details. I won't get into them, I'll just show you that they exist. And if we refresh our page now, you'll notice the buttons are gone, and that's all it took. It's about 1 minute, maybe a minute 30 seconds to live update a website from source code, and this is already, like I said, containerized through Docker and deployed to Google Cloud. And they even have an integration. That's not easy to see from here, but they have an integration to add custom domains. So this ugly URL would be replaced by a clean domain name for whatever business you're trying to sell to. Very nice features.